In a small Indian town where teachers were revered like saints, the local government school buzzed with excitement. The renowned mathematics teacher, Mr. Arjun Mehta, was holding a free workshop. Known for his intelligence and confidence, some found his pride a little off-putting. In the last row sat a quiet woman named Meera Sharma, with her young nephew, Rohan. Dressed in a simple cotton sari, she followed every equation Mr. Mehta scribbled on the board, her eyes sharp and attentive. Mr. Mehta began with his usual flair, solving complex problems with a flick of his wrist. The students applauded, and he smiled, basking in their admiration. "Mathematics is a game of the mind," he declared. "Only those with true intelligence can master it." The crowd murmured in agreement. Everyone, that is, except Meera, who offered a small, private smile. Soon, Mr. Mehta presented a particularly tricky algebraic equation. "Who can solve this?" he challenged. One by one, students tried and failed. Mr. Mehta chuckled. "See, it's not so easy." Just then, little Rohan whispered to his aunt, "Auntie, you can solve it, right? You always help me with my homework." Mr. Mehta's sharp ears caught the whisper. He turned, his gaze landing on Meera. "Madam," he said, a hint of mockery in his voice, "your nephew seems to think you're a math whiz. Would you like to give this a try?" The entire room turned to stare. Meera's face flushed. "No, sir, I was just—" she began, but he cut her off. "Don't be shy. If you know math, this should be simple." A few soft giggles rippled through the room. Rohan looked up at her, his eyes wide with hope. "Please try, Auntie. I know you can do it." Taking a deep breath, Meera walked to the front. The wooden floor creaked under her sandals. Her hand trembled as she took the chalk from Mr. Mehta, who folded his arms, confident she would fail. "Take your time," he said smugly. Meera stared at the complicated equation. She closed her eyes for a moment, recalling a long-forgotten classroom, the voice of her old college professor echoing in her mind. It was a life she had left behind to care for her family. When she opened her eyes, the fear was gone. The chalk in her hand was steady. Calmly, she began to write. Step by step, she simplified the equation, her movements becoming faster and more confident. She explained her method softly as she went, her voice clear and steady. The room fell silent. Even Mr. Mehta leaned forward, his confident smile slowly vanishing. In just a few minutes, she wrote the final answer. Turning back, she said quietly, "This is the simplest way to solve it." For a moment, there was stunned silence. Mr. Mehta quickly checked his notes. The answer was perfect. The proud teacher was, for the first time, speechless. Meera handed him the chalk. "You were right, sir," she said humbly. "Mathematics requires discipline, but it also needs patience and imagination." Suddenly, the students erupted in applause. Rohan's face beamed with pride. Meera smiled gently, not with arrogance, but with the quiet joy of rediscovering a part of herself she thought was lost forever. Mr. Mehta finally found his voice, his pride a little bruised, but his respect won. "Well done," he said softly. "You have a rare gift, madam." As Meera returned to her seat, her heart thrummed with a forgotten feeling of accomplishment. Mr. Mehta, however, was left with a burning question. Who was this brilliant woman, and why was she hiding her light? He didn't know it then, but this humble encounter in a noisy classroom was about to change both of their lives forever. That night, Mr. Arjun Mehta couldn't sleep. The image of the simple woman solving his impossible equation played in his mind over and over. Her calmness, her steady hand, her confidence. It was all so extraordinary. He had taught mathematics for over 20 years. Yet her method was something he'd never seen before. It was elegant, clever, almost poetic. Who was she? He whispered to himself, staring at his notebook. How could a woman dressed so modestly think like a scholar? The next day, he decided to find out. He went to the school clerk and asked for the list of people who attended the workshop. And there it was, in neat handwriting. Meera Sharma. He asked around and learned that she lived in a small lane near the temple and gave tuitions to young children. Nothing about her background suggested any professional training in math. This only deepened his curiosity. Later that week, Mr. Mehta walked to her house. It was a small, clean home with potted plants at the entrance. He could hear children's laughter echoing from inside. Mira was sitting with a few young students helping them with their multiplication tables. Her voice was warm and patient, a quality many teachers, including himself, often lacked. When she saw him, she was surprised but quickly stood up. "Oh, Mr. Mehta, please come in," she said softly. The children stared wide-eyed at the famous teacher visiting their simple class. He smiled awkwardly. "I hope I'm not disturbing you, Mrs. Sharma. I just wanted to talk for a few minutes." After she sent the children home, they sat across from each other with cups of tea. "I must admit," Mr. Mehta began, "I was very impressed by how you solved that problem. Your approach was brilliant. Where did you learn it?" Mira looked down for a moment. "I studied mathematics in college, sir. I wanted to become a lecturer. Numbers always spoke to me. They made sense when nothing else did." Mr. Mehta leaned forward, intrigued. "Then why didn't you continue? You have the kind of mind universities dream about." Her eyes softened with old memories. "Life had other plans," she said with a small, sad smile. "My father passed away during my final year, and I had to leave my studies to take care of my siblings. Later I got married, and my husband's job kept us moving. I taught myself whenever I could, but dreams fade when responsibilities grow." There was a profound silence between them. Mr. Mehta, who always believed success came from pure determination, now saw another truth. Sometimes even the most gifted minds are buried under the weight of life. He looked around the small room filled with books, a worn-out blackboard, and a few broken chairs. Yet it was beautiful in its own way. A quiet determination hung in the air. "You still teach?" he said gently. "Yes," Mira nodded. "Only small children. Their questions keep my mind alive." Mr. Mehta smiled. "And that is what makes a true teacher, not degrees or titles, but passion." That evening marked the beginning of a new friendship. Mr. Mehta started visiting her often, bringing books and problems for them to discuss. Their conversations turned into long sessions of problem-solving and laughter. He realized her way of thinking was intuitive. She didn't just follow rules, she felt the math. To her, numbers were a language of beauty and balance. Word began to spread. People whispered about the simple woman who stunned the elite teacher. One day a group of college students asked Mira to teach them. Though shy at first, she agreed. Her small room slowly transformed into a lively study center. The same hands that once made dinner now drew equations and explained theories. She had found her joy again, the kind that comes from doing what you were born to do. Mr. Mehta often stood outside, watching her teach with admiration. This woman he once underestimated had reignited his own passion. "You've reminded me why I became a teacher," he told her one day. "Not to show off what I know, but to inspire others." Mira smiled humbly. "And you helped me remember who I was, sir." Sometimes we forget our own light until someone holds up a mirror. As the sun set, Mr. Mehta realized something profound. Knowledge wasn't about pride or position. It was about sharing, learning, and awakening minds, no matter where they come from. And Mira, the simple woman he once challenged in arrogance, had become the mirror that reflected the true meaning of wisdom. Months had passed since that unforgettable day when Mira solved the math problem that changed her life. What started as a simple challenge had blossomed into a journey of rediscovery, growth, and transformation. Mira's small tuition center had become the heart of the neighborhood. Every afternoon, her little room filled with students, their eyes full of curiosity. She didn't just teach them formulas and equations. She taught them about confidence, patience, and the power of believing in oneself. Her voice, once timid, was now full of life, making even the most difficult concepts seem simple and beautiful. The same woman who once doubted herself was now a beacon of inspiration. Mr. Mehta, the teacher who had once challenged her out of arrogance, was a frequent visitor. He'd watch her classes, a proud smile on his face. He saw the irony in it all. The student he never intended to have had become his greatest teacher in humility and wisdom. One evening, as the sun set, Mira and Mr. Mehta sat together on the veranda, sipping tea. "You've built something beautiful here, Mira," he said, his voice soft with admiration. You've done what many of us forget. You've made them love learning. Mira smiled. Maybe because I lost it once, she replied. When you find something you thought was gone forever, you hold on tighter. Teaching, it gave me my life back. Mr. Mehta nodded thoughtfully. The education department is starting a new community initiative, he said. Free weekend classes for underprivileged children. They need teachers. I think you should apply. Mira was taken aback. Me? But I don't have official qualifications anymore. He smiled warmly. Sometimes the best teachers aren't found in universities. They're found in small rooms like this one. I'll recommend you myself. People need to see what you can do. After some convincing, Mira agreed. When the day of her interview came, she wore the same simple cerise from the day she solved that problem. Her hands trembled slightly, but her heart was calm. She didn't talk about degrees. She spoke of her love for teaching, her passion for helping children, and her belief that knowledge is a right, not a privilege. The panel was deeply moved. A few days later, a letter arrived. Mira Sharma, mathematics instructor, community education program. Tears welled up in her eyes as she saw her name officially printed again. Holding the letter close, she whispered, "Papa, I did it." Her community classes became famous. She used everyday objects, grains of rice, bangles, paper boats, to explain tough concepts, making math accessible and fun. Her story spread, and a local newspaper published an article, "The Hidden Genius Who Taught the Town to Love Math." When reporters asked for her secret, she'd always say, "Every person has a gift. Sometimes life hides it, but it never takes it away. You just need the right moment or the right challenge to bring it back." Years later, Mira's small center grew into the Mira Learning Academy, where every mind matters, offering free education to children from poor families. Mr. Mehta, now retired, became her trusted advisor. Together, they built a legacy of hope. On the Academy's inauguration day, Mira stood before her community. "When I first walked into a classroom again, I was scared," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I thought I had nothing left to give. But sometimes life gives you a second chance to become who you were meant to be. All you have to do is take it." The crowd erupted in applause. That night, Mira looked at her old, faded chalkboard, now hanging proudly in her new classroom, a reminder of where it all began. The story of a simple woman and an elite teacher became a living lesson that genius knows no class or title. It only needs a chance to shine.